Am I the butthole for not letting my dead friend's parents see their grandson? I, 31 female, was best friends with Alexis, deceased 3 months ago, 31 female, we had been friends since we were 9 or 10. Alexis was a single mom of 2, a daughter who was born deaf and is now 11 and a son who is 6. Alexis never had anything nice to say about her parents. She was kicked out of home at 16 and ended up living with my family because, as her dad said to mine, she's old enough to sort her own crap out and that she was a waste of space. She ended up going no contact with her parents after that. About 4 years ago her parents reached out to rekindle a relationship and she agreed to let them meet her and her kids. The rekindled relationship only lasted for a month because her parents were rude towards her daughter, calling her an slur and saying she would have been better off born dead. They also showed clear favoritism towards her son and would buy him expensive gifts and ignore her daughter. Alexis got sick of their behavior, gave them 3 warnings and then went no contact again. About 2 years ago Alexis was diagnosed with an advanced stage of ovarian cancer. She had an immediate hysterectomy and started chemo, but it had already spread to several other organs and her spine. We sat down and I agreed to take her kids after she passed. They get along great with my daughter, 7, and my stepson, 11, who had learnt American Sign Language so he could talk to Alexis's daughter. In her will she explicitly stated that she didn't want her parents to have anything to do with her kids. So now Alexis has passed and both kids moved in with my family. Since the funeral Alexis's parents have repeatedly reached out and asked to see their grandson. I have repeatedly refused. They are proceeding to slander me all over SM and have been hassling my husband and the kids' schools. My husband agrees I'm doing the right thing, but some of the other parents are divided and say that I'm being cruel keeping them from their last memory of their daughter. Am I the butthole for continuing to say no? NTA, why would you be? Get legal advice about their harassment, especially with them in the school. Make sure the school knows they're to have no contact with those children. Edit, legal. This is the absolutely essential advice right here. You need to document what they are doing. Make sure you have written, your parents too, everything that happened in the past. Any messages of harassment towards your friend before her passing, so sorry for your loss, and make sure you stay on it regarding school etc. These people sound like nutballs who are angling for something, and all that evidence is mainly to protect those 2 beautiful children from the hate that their mother experienced. She should get a lawyer to back her up when talking to the school. All it takes is one bleeding heart teacher or office employee to fall for their crocodile tears and that kid is gone. Having a lawyer informing them that there will be consequences if these people are allowed access to the son, can go a long way of preventing that. This up. Listen to this. I have a permanent restraining order and strict safety rules against someone, and when I was still in school, middle school and high school, some of college, he used giant crocodile tears, sympathy stories and charm to get a few students and people to share my information /whereabouts /activity, etc. because they felt sorry for him and wanted to help. Damn imbeciles put my life in danger. You'd also be amazed what people will do for something they believe is theirs or their right. Also keep in mind that they only want access to the young boy, not the young girl, and that speaks volumes. You are doing everything you can and I am so grateful for you and your family. Get a lawyer, document everything, and make sure your family and those who are in your circle understand that there is to be no contact with the maternal grandparents. Anyone who breaks that, put them on no contact either, since they are not to be trusted. Good luck. Edit, grammar ETA. Thank you all for the likes and awards. This is so amazing. I appreciate the attention this comment has brought and the helpful discussions below. I hope original post realizes how dangerous this situation can get. Please read the threads and see how dangerous and easy it can be for relatives and family to gain access to a child if they put charm and sympathy on. Please check in with a lawyer, document and keep them safe. Keep an info diet of the children on social media too. I've been found by family that way too, and it's not easy to regulate once info is on the internet. You are honoring your best friend's wishes, don't feel bad about it. Your best friend's biological parents / now grandparents are the a-holes. Stay strong and feel free to message me if you need support or have questions. This is horrifying. I used to work in a school office and confidentiality is paramount. I had parents call to ask for a number for their kids' friends' parents and I could never give it out. I'd take that parent's phone number, call the other parent, relay the message and phone number. Anything where there was paperwork, we had a meetup to ensure we know who the paperwork was about, who was allowed contact and who wasn't. Yep, I have a friend whose kid was in daycare and she had order of protection against ex-husband, for her and kid. Daycare knew and had copy on file and yet still let him walk out with the kid. Took a day for cops to track them down to some hotel room. Similar thing happened in my town earlier this year. Some incompetent daycare worker thought restraining orders are a joke and sympathized with the kid's sperm donor, not referring to him as the father here because he doesn't deserve the title. When the cops found them, the kid was already murdered. A heartbreaking tragedy that wouldn't have happened had the worker properly done their darn job. Sheesh. That incompetent worker should have been charged as an accessory to murder. Or let the mother left behind to handle them. Preferably with no consequences or repercussions on her part. Absolutely no consequences, agreed. Absolutely this. What kind of punishment did the daycare get? Did this make the news? I feel so awful for the mother. I'm not sure. This was shortly before COVID high-fived our country in the face, so it's possible the justice has yet to process the case. Personally, I hope the worker gets thrown in prison. As a mother of a small child, I can only imagine the pain. I don't think I'd be able to let justice take its course if someone in a professional career to keep my son safe didn't do exactly that. I think I'd be the one in prison. I'd like to think I wouldn't react like that, but my sons are by far most valued out of everything and everyone I've seen or met. So yeah, I'd have reacted extremely poorly. I don't have kids, I'm child-free by choice, but holy crap, if that happened to my friend's kid, you can bet your ass I'd do whatever they needed to help them, work their feelings out about the situation. Alibi, dig a hole for them, whatever. Normally I'm fully against vigilante justice, but when the law is clear and part of someone's literal job is to protect the children under their care and that person decides no, this is ridiculous, I'm going to do what I think is right and it gets a kid killed. I'm just sitting here shaking my head, that's so outrageous. Personally, I hope the worker gets thrown in prison. I really hope she gets a long sentence. How awful for the mother and child. Poor kid must have been terrified. They might. It's a misdemeanor to violate a protective order, I believe, even as a third party, and there is such a thing as unlawful act manslaughter. That would allow the daycare worker to be charged with homicide for violating the order. Family abductions are by far the most common. We have this stranger danger mentality, which is good in theory, but it takes away from the actual danger of parents and family members. In the US, they do these big trafficking sweeps that make news, and everyone applauds because they see the headline and think children have been rescued from professional human trafficking rings or something. But when you actually read the fine print, all the charges are for non-custodial abduction. Honestly, a daycare would probably be safer handing a kid off to some stranger off the street than to give a child to a parent or family member who is on a no-contact list. I agree. My kids' greatest threat to their physical safety is their father. They need to rely on the goodness and kindness and helpfulness of strangers when they are with him, in case he crosses the line or even kidnaps them. I'm sorry you have to go through that, and I hope you can get away from him soon. As a teacher, I've had students who were abused, and even one who was killed, all by family. Luckily, my school takes it seriously, and we even have parents at the beginning of the year angry because we check IDs. Not very teacher knows every parent, and if I don't know you and I don't know for a fact you're an approved pickup, you're not getting the kid without me checking. Period. There is a large age difference between my sibling and me. My father had an emergency and asked me to pick up my sister. I was not on any paperwork allowing me to pick her up. She was 2 and I was 19. She couldn't communicate that she knew me. I walked in expecting them to call our father asking permission and with my ID if needed, since he hadn't called the daycare. They asked nothing. Brought me to her, put her in my arms, gave me her bag, and off we went. My dad was not amused. Worker should be charged with third-degree murder, and with assisting a criminal. Last year a boy was kidnapped from my daughter's school because the dumbass receptionist didn't check if someone had permission to pick the kid up. Cops finally found them a few days later several states away. I was extremely cautious as a kid, and still. I had a secret handshake with my dad that I required anyone picking me up from school in his place to know, or I wouldn't go with them. Highly recommend ultra secret handshake. My parents had a code word for us to use when staying at a place that wasn't home. If we said the code word in a phone call or a text message, they would immediately drop everything and come get us with a generic excuse of family issues. Didn't matter if we were staying with friends or trusted family members, if we felt unsafe or uncomfortable, we just said the code word and help was coming. Made me feel heaps safer. We had a password, and I still remember it to this day. We had a password, but it changed after one use. Then you came up with a new one. We've done the same thing with our kids. And it doesn't matter who it is. If it's someone you love to bits, if they don't say the password, you don't go with them. We had a password too. And I also remember it. We actually had to use it a few times when I was in school. So smart. I will remember this. But a handshake requires personal touch. This is incredibly important, Op. My mother was allowed no contact with me, but she came to the school hysterical and told the office she was worried about my health and she needed to check in with me. I had asthma. Nothing severe, that worked though, and suddenly my abuser was at the door with a school nurse pulling me out of class. Luckily, my own teacher knew the situation and held me back and went to the office herself to speak with admins and my mother. Please make sure everyone is aware because all it would have taken was my teacher not paying attention, and I'd have been gone with a meth and pill addict who tried to get me to start drugs at 11. Yes. This right here, just like what I said, only shorter and sweeter? I will donate if original post needs help with legal costs. Maybe a GoFundMe is in order? These people sound disturbed in some way. I also find it odd they ditched their own daughter, now the granddaughter. I wonder, did Op's late friend have brothers, and if so, were they also favored? Sounds incredibly toxic. Also keep in mind that they only want access to the young boy, not the young girl, and that speaks volumes. It was the first thing on my mind after finishing this post. Only the boy and not his sister. It is beyond cruel of those genetic donors, they do not deserve to be called parents or grandparents. Very good advice. The school staff are just people who have no idea what they'll be getting themselves into. They need to be set straight quick. Op, listen to this. User AITA grandparent, Reddit link. NTA, I notice they only want access to the grandson, not the granddaughter. They're still the same toxic people. Yup, came here to post this. If they were genuinely trying to make things right, they'd be apologizing to the granddaughter. But no, they're doing the same crap they did to Alexis. Tell them to F off. My heart breaks for the granddaughter. She deserves better than her dumpster fire grandparents. Fortunately, she does have better too. She has original post in her corner to protect her. And a mom that protected her, and other loving family as well. Hopefully the dumpster fire grandparents will be kept far away and burn out on their own. Right. It made me so happy to hear that Op's stepson had learned ASL to communicate and befriend her. That's her brother now, and he'll be lookout for her too. Both kids, to be honest, in the end favoritism does no one any favors. Was about to comment the same. Those people are a serious piece of work. That was what stood out to me too. This has nothing to do with wanting to see their daughter's children now she's passed. Definitely toxic, definitely NTA. But seeing a lawyer would be good. That hit me right away too. The language they use to their daughter leads me to think they consider the granddaughter broken and not worth their time. I noticed they only want access to the grandson, not the granddaughter. We've got a detective here. Seriously, that's the entire crux of the issue. And you noticed it. NTA. You're literally following her will. File harassment charges. Edited to say, thanks for the awards, y'all. Came here to say this. The grandparents are clearly the a-holes. Agree, not the butthole. The fact that they only want the grandson shows that they don't care about their daughter's wishes or their actual granddaughter. NTA. Talk to the attorney that handled your appointment as guardian about what your rights are and how you can restrain them from harassing you. Especially if you are in a place with grandparents' rights. My understanding is that basically nowhere will give visitation to grandparents who have barely met the child, 1 month of occasional contact, several years ago, but better safe than sorry, I suppose. That's what I thought, and hoped. These people are strangers to these kids. They need to lay in the bed they made themselves. What crappy people. Unfortunately, New York will give grandparents visitation even if they have never met the child. That they only want access to one child would not do them any favors in front of a judge. Any documentation of the favoritism, even just texts and emails asking after only the boy, should be saved. NTA. You can send them a cease and desist letter. Get a template off of Google. You don't need a lawyer for that. Make sure to add if this activity persists, we will immediately seek a temporary restraining order against you and any accomplices in this matter. By mentioning accomplices, it means you can go after any of her flying monkeys spreading rumors. And we will also seek monetary damages to be proved at trial. So they know you will also be going after them for legal fees. Send it by registered mail, and keep a copy of it for your records. The second they disregard that letter and continue harassing you, you can call the cops and file for a temporary restraining order. While this may be a good scare tactic, Original Post definitely needs to have an attorney involved so that those children are legally protected. In some states, cease and desist is not acknowledged unless it's sent by an always, but I do agree this is a route to go for sure. They don't need a cease and desist letter. They can just proceed with the restraining order. Cease and desist are just fancy letters asking someone nicely to stop doing something or you might sue them. They have no legal standing. What they would want is a cease and desist order. This comes from courts and does have legal standing. NTA in her will she explicitly stated that she didn't want her parents to have anything to do with her kids. I mean, there's your answer right there. Yup. Take a screenshot of the part of the will where Alexis says the parents should get no contact, especially if it says why. Use that as your standard reply whenever anyone says you are being cruel. And ask why they aren't asking about their granddaughter? Don't ask the grandparents, risk of them changing tactics. Let them keep digging that hole long as they can. Emo, that's the key fact that should sway others to Op's side. This is what I would say. If the online slander carries on, I would make a post saying the grandparents have used abusive language towards the granddaughter and it was their daughter's last wish for them to be kept away from her children. Might shut them up for a bit. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.